series of live on my Facebook account, especially this account, which is relevant to Jean. But I talk about self-taught polyglot, and I also talk about some of the life, things that are very important in life. I try to make sense of them. I try to make a meaning out of these, chaotic situation in which the world is driving us to. So this live that you're listening to, I'm actually doing it from my house, from my home. I'm not in the studio. I'm actually at home. And today I really want to talk about the importance of communication and the use of language in communication. I know that this sounds kind of outlandish, kind of cliched to you guys, because you know that communication is key to any being's survival. Communication is not a norm in the animal kingdom. Human beings use it. Other animals, non-human animals, use it as well. So I basically want to talk about communication, the use of language in communication, and I want to read some passages in the book Speech in Action, which is a very fantastic book that you can get. This book is so important. It's written by Karl Robinson and Charles Lee. This is a fantastic book. This book is so interesting, and there are two parts. There's a part that is about communication when it comes to your own work. When you're going to communicate, you're going to convey a message to the world, but it's going to be your own message, which is the most important thing that everybody should be engaged in, and everybody's going to be doing this. So you're going to present something to the whole world, like it or not. And the second part is about interpreting the work of others. It's two part. I have two copies. The first part is communication for yourself, and which is this part. And the second one is communication when it comes to interpretation of people's ideas. Okay, people's ideas. Now, in this live, I'm going to be covering part of the first section of the book. Okay, and I can read through the content. Okay, speech in the world. We have first, there is speech in your world. It's essentials of speaking. Listening, the counterpart of speaking. Informal speaking. There is developing confidence, preliminary preparation, organizing and outlining your speech, using all language effectively, and there is controlling your voice, improving your articulation, and using action effectively. So this book covers a lot of stuff. It covers a lot of stuff when it comes to communication. It's a very interesting book, guys. You can have it. I can send a link below this video. I'm going to send a link and go to Google. You can have a PDF file. It's so interesting. Okay, you can have the PDF file of this book, and it's going to be fantastic. Okay, because it covers so many things, especially the first part, which is speech in the world, making a speech, speaking situations. Okay, what, how, and where. Okay, now today we're going to talk about I'm going to talk about the first chapter of this book. Hopefully that you can understand. I'm going to speak a little Creole too, because I think that is necessary for those of you that are interested in language learning, and especially using language effectively with a lot of eloquence in it. You might consider using this part of this book, in order to understand what we're covering here. Donc, ça c'est une partie de un podcast qui relève et mini making podcast au sense making apparatus. Là-dedans qui m'a parlé de bagailles qui est important dans la communication et de vie, de sociologie, de philosophie et comment le monde doit vivre ensemble, comment le monde doit utiliser le langage pour avoir une meilleure communication, comment on peut développer l'éloquence dans le langage. Même j'ai un philosophe et chinois qui dit là, parler en langue, une sorte de fluidité dans une langue, ça peut prendre 2 ans. Mais être éloquent, ça, c'est un travail de toute une vie. Donc, nous allons parler dans le channel là, nous allons parler sur quelques principes de communication qui est extrêmement intéressant. Dans le document ça, ok? Speaking in Action, that's my book. Ça, c'est le livre PAM, ok? Que moi parle disséquer quelques parties là-dedans qui ont rapport avec communication, qui ont rapport avec l'usage du langage, ok? Donc, premier chapitre là, ok? Dans le livre là, j'aime te présenter le talent en anglais, quand il y a une présentation en créole haïtien, c'est que premier chapitre là lui-même, ça vient là-dedans. Il y a l'utilisation du langage pour présenter propre bagaille pour, c'est-à-dire propre idée pour ou gagner pour présenter avec le monde là, ok? Il y a plusieurs raisons pour communiquer, il y a plusieurs intentions de communication. On peut communiquer pour partager un message, et on peut communiquer pour montrer comment les maîtriser l'usage de langage, ça de langue ça comme un code qu'elle a utilisé pour partager le message. On peut parler tout pour lui dominer l'autre monde qui parler. Par exemple, on appelle ça, Roman Jacobson appelle ça la fonction connotative du langage. Et c'est-à-dire une sorte d'impératif dans le langage. On a parlé et puis on a utilisé le langage là pour dominer l'autre monde, ok? Ou du moins pour lui faire un message passer de manière impérative. C'est-à-dire on capte des lieux et après que gagne pour utiliser yo gagne pour yo confier dans ça mon a dit, OK? Donc je suis occupé. Donc dans l'utilisation ça et nous ouais langage en lui-même il gagne plusieurs fonctions. Et nous va parler en anglais, nous va prendre langage pas comme un objet, nous va prendre langage dans fonction de communication. C'est-à-dire qui ça que généralement modalité du langage. Généralement qui modalité nous bat avec ça nous les mots qui utilisés. Donc monde là que vous voyez ou non n'a toujours besoin de langage. Nous avons fait cette expérience ça. Tout ce qui est en monde, nous avons parlé de monde, nous avons monde écrit etc. Et tout ce que nous pouvons entendre monde parler, nous pouvons vraiment croire que monde lui-même sont monde qui a convaincu de sujet ça li habitué écrire etc. Donc communication verbale et l'aime parler de communication verbale, moi inclus communication non verbale là-dedans. C'est-à-dire communication verbale dans le sens communication côté que et orale, c'est-à-dire parler, utiliser les mots tout ça pour mettre une étiquette sur réalité. So, without further ado, let's just get straight to it. We're going to read the first chapter today. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. In this live from Facebook. And also I'm going to cover the first chapter today, part of the first chapter of the book, which is very interesting, that you can have a look. And I told you that I'm going to send the link, but below this video you can go to Google and you can have the PDF file of this book, okay, called Speech in Action. Okay, it's an interesting book. Now we're gonna go back to Greek, to the Greece time, where Greece was one of the foundation of philosophy. The Western philosophy is basically founded in Greece with Plato and Aristotle. This is where Socrates was debated with all his disciples. So Greek is basically like we say, Africa is the crib of human civilization. People say Africa is the crib of human civilization. Other scientists, they say Africa is the center, the epicenter of human civilization. So there are a lot of civilizations, by the way, a lot of civilizations. A lot of people are just using civilizations for different reasons, and a lot of people using civilizations with different stands, with different perceptions and different history, right? But Greece is basically the foundation of human, the Western philosophy, Western ideas, Western science, okay, in general. So I just want to read a quote from Demosthenes, who said that when Demosthenes was asked what was the first part of oratory, he answered action. Which was the second? He replied action. And which was the third? He replied action. So you see, action is basically some people say that action is a result of communication. Whenever you're using language, language is a system of thought that we use in order to name reality. We use it to put an etiquette on reality, and also to create a sense of community. Okay, to create a sense of community and to live together. Okay, language has a deep role in human civilizations, and also language is the most sophisticated code, okay, that we know ever. If you read the work of one of the greatest linguists of the 20th century, his name is André Martinet. He's a French linguist. He was a philosopher as well. He said that language, when it comes to the idea that language, the modality of language is to communicate thought and to name reality, he said that the difference between human language and the so-called animal means of communication is that human language is infinite. With human language, which has two parts, the first part is the phonemes, the sounds that you hear, that is articulated sound, okay, with certain symbols and with certain community. And also there's the morphemes, the senses, okay, that phonemes give to the words that the speaker uses. He said that the human language is deeply interesting, and is deeply interesting for anybody, especially philosophers of language and linguists, to study, because the human language is infinite. You can just make that, this little experiment. Like, if you use the body language, for example, in communication, they say that more than 90%, like 90 or 95%, I would say 90% or 80% of communication is basically nonverbal communication, which means eye contact. You communicate with your eyes. Your, like, I'm not looking at the camera, but it's very important. The eye contact, your gestures, the melody of your voice, which is basically the intonation of the language. Intonation is very important. The prosody of the language, the melody of the language. The melody of English is different from the melody of Spanish, like melody of Haitian Creole. Let's take an example before I get explaining that. If I'd like to say in Haitian Creole, let me take an example. I'd like to say in Haitian Creole that, what example should I give? Okay, Mwen rele Ral Valentino. Mwen rele Ral Valentino. In English, my name is Ral Valentino. Mi nombre es Ral Valentino. Meu nome em português é Ral Valentino. Ral Valentino. Eu sono Ral Valentino. So you see, the melody of English, je suis Ral Valentino. The melody of English, of French, of Spanish, of Haitian Creole, of Italian, of Portuguese. I could say that in Russian as well. These are ya, These are all differences. A lot of differences in them. The melody is very important to carry out sense. Okay? Bon, m'expliquer ça encore là ici. Donc, généralement, il y a un élément qui porte sens, élément de porteur de sens dans la langue, dans la communication. C'est pas seulement les mots qu'on utilise, c'est-à-dire les mots, les phonèmes et les mots, c'est-à-dire petit, unité ça qui vaut nous avec une réalité. Okay? C'est-à-dire ça nous dit. Ok? Il y a une petite unité qui nous dit qui vaut nous en réalité. De pensée. Il y a un petit bail nous dit il vaut nous avec une réalité de son. L'autre nous a dit il vaut nous en réalité de sens. Ok? Elle va venir en forme, il va venir en forme en général. Donc et le même sens ça, c'est que lorsqu'on monde utilise anglais, il y a un propre prosodipal. Okay? Prosody, c'est un bagage qu'on étudier comme ça. C'est un bagage que vous étudiez de manière très naturelle. Prosody is not something that you can study from a book. It's something that you study basically in linguistic community of the language. And this is where you have prosody. And each language has its own prosody, its own way to organize sentences in order to produce the reality that we are thinking about. Each language has its own way of doing it. English has its own way of doing it. Haitian Creole has its own way of doing it. Spanish has its own way of doing it. Portuguese has its own way of doing it. Let's take an example in Spanish. Like when you go to bed with somebody, like, you know, basically when you go to bed, when it comes to relationship, like men and women, and then in Spanish, yo me levanté con él. That does not mean that you have sex with that person. But in the Spanish world, basically when you use this verb, levantarse, there is a sensation that you had sex with that person, especially in Spanish. Whereas if you say it in English, if you go to bed to someone, yeah, that's you can have this sense. But if you say it in Haitian Creole, etc., that might not be the same idea. See, they use it with different. Each language has its own way to decode reality. Like Edouard Sapir, one of the greatest American ethno-linguists, he said that language is a system that we use to dissect reality, and each language. It's not only language participating in perceiving reality, but language itself is a way to create that reality. Donc, chaque langue, chaque langage et chaque moyen de communication sont pragmatiques. Ou ça, par exemple avec des auteurs américains. Donc, auteurs américains, the American authors, they do a fantastic job in this topic. That's why I love these authors when it comes to philosophy of language and semiotics. The American authors, they are fantastic in this domain. I really appreciate these scientists and philosophers. So back to what I was saying is that whenever you're saying something, or whenever you're just talking to someone, the essence is not just talking. It's not talking for talking. Talking to change behavior. Use speech to change behavior, right? Utiliser des mots, ok? Você vai usar as palavras para cambiar os comportamentos das pessoas. O jeito de pensar das pessoas, você vai mudar isso. Okay? So you're just gonna change the way thinking. If I have to give a speech in Haitian Creole, which is my mother tongue, I'm still studying Haitian Creole because Haitian Creole is basically the language that we here in Haiti should inherently know and try to dissect and understand it linguistically speaking, and system morphology and system, and trying to move to develop with that language. And I think that if you don't have a native tongue, it's very difficult for you to really embrace reality, because you get a sense of reality through a language. Language is basically the medium through which reality is known to. You can explore reality with language. You can basically have an experience, a thought experience, just using language. And for a lot of authors, we're gonna get to that. For a lot of authors, I'm just referring to a lot of American authors again, language and thought are undistinguishable. You cannot distinguish them. Pour un piloteur, langue, c'est-à-dire moyen de communication, modalité de communication, hein, avec pensée, c'est-à-dire, et l'homme dit pensée, il y a une matérialité de la pensée. Pour un pile là même, c'est même bagaille lié. C'est même bagaille. Par exemple, essayer en tant qu'humain, essayer font c'est que c'est ça la carreau, ou essayer à penser sans que vous pas utiliser un code. On a dit un code là, c'est-à-dire un langage, c'est-à-dire soit un système qui pas en langue, c'est un système non linguistique. Pour penser, c'est très difficile. C'est ça fait auteur ça, this author. I really like him. I suggest that you read this guy. I don't know if you can see the book. Let me just put it right here like this. Yeah, this is a French philosopher. His name is Jean-Jacques Rousseau. C'est un philosophe français. Son nom c'est Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Il a écrit un document extraordinaire qui s'appelle Discours sur l'origine et le fondement de l'inégalité parmi les hommes. Il y a aussi Discours sur les sciences et les arts. Un livre ça, par exemple, nous avons là, son livre est tellement épuisé. Et Rousseau combat il dit qui est extrêmement intéressé et qui est très intéressant tout. Monsieur dit comme ça que pour parler, pour bien penser, il faut qu'on parle. Monsieur dit il faut parler pour avoir des idées. Donc Rousseau c'est un précurseur de la philosophie du langage et dans le document là qui c'est l'essai sur l'origine des langues que je là, qui m'a vraiment mettre le devant là pour préparation là ça, mais qui est extrêmement intéressant que monsieur pour Rousseau peut dire que langue les gagner et origine langue là a rapport avec moun qui on a utilisé langue là. Le fait que nous pas gagner langue c'est parce que moun et c'est passion moun qui va le faire créer code linguistique là. C'est ça rempli par exemple cette physique besoin vous comprendre. Par exemple, il y a des gens qui ça langage est-ce que son système de est-ce que c'est besoin de créer, est-ce que c'est comment can monter un monologue que m'ba connaît. How can I teach somebody a language that I don't know? How can I learn a language without any community where the language is spoken? That's a basic question, right? How can a mother can teach a language to a kid without having a good command or without knowing the language? How come? Toute l'idée ça c'est à partir de Jean-Jacques Rousseau, toute l'idée ça a commencé à édifier et Jean-Jacques Rousseau commence à montrer exactement que ça nous apprend dans la société de qui gens que mon apprend la langue, de qui gens mon construit ça les réels, que les bases de réel, c'est-à-dire tout ça que nous sentons à travers nous percevons à travers sens non, c'est-à-dire moi telle couleur dans la chambre là, moi couleur crème, donc sens moi les yeux me gens interpréter crème non et puis le voyer dans le cerveau, il dit mais ça moi je prends tel sens par exemple et me senti la plus fait tomber tout ça c'est des séries de et des cas dit c'est sens qui permet nous détecter bah ça. C'est sens qui permet nous détecter qu'il y a un monde extérieur qui voit avec cerveau nous. Et le cerveau a une balance sens. Et à travers l'évolution de la civilisation, chaque barre ça le vient entrer, chaque mot ça chaque réalité ça soit-disant nous créer, il vient entrer dans un lexicon, j'ai envie de dire en anglais, un lexicon de l'humain en général. Donc, chaque humain gagne qui ça créer tel type de réalité. Type de réalité chaque humain vient créer, ça veut dire qu'il y a une réalité qui est spécifique avec l'humain. Par exemple, scientifiques dans travaux de recherche en France, que les CNRS, les Centres de recherche national, Centre de recherche scientifique national en France, ils découvrent que même si la déo quand il partialité, quand il comme tu as dit ça là, et interprétation, quand il préjugé tout, quand il interprétation humaine, c'est-à-dire c'est Jean, l'homme perçoit la réalité, il essaie de plaquer sous système l'autre type de être vivant. This is what the author said from NSR. They said that human beings have a different way to perceive reality from the animal kingdom. Like, human being is the species that perceive colors in a better way. Jean-Jacques Rousseau, this is what Jean-Jacques Rousseau would say. Jean-Jacques Rousseau said, what is color? What is the essence of color? What is it made of? And how do we know that the human being interpretation, the human being biased interpretation of color is the best way to describe color? How do we know? How do we know that? We don't have any proof. We don't know how it is made of. This is human interpretation. Now, the same thing is happening with speech and action that I really deeply consider you guys can read this book, which is fantastic. And I also consider you reading this book because if you really want to understand the conflict of mankind, you're gonna start with political philosophy. Like what's happening in Haiti right now, it's a lack of consciousness in political philosophy. You might consider reading the book of some great authors like Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Thomas Hobbes, with his book, The Leviathan, John Locke, The Civil Government of John Locke. There's a guy from the United States, Noam Noswick. There's another guy that I forget the name, that I haven't read his book, but he's actually, I heard in the field of political philosophy that he's so interesting, and he's very dense with his work in liberalism and capitalism, you know, and his theory of utility in the United States of America in the 20th century. That's a very interesting book to read because it has to do with organizing ourselves together. C'est ça la politique, c'est se mettre ensemble, comme Platon l'a défini très bien. Donc, il y en a un qui est extrêmement intéressant. On va continuer avant nous document ça qui c'est you can see the book. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know. I don't know if you can see it. I don't know. So yeah, this is a book, very interesting one. It's another one, very interesting one as well. So you can still have a look at it because these are fantastic books that are going to change your life. And I'm going to read a segment and I'm going to talk about it because I guess that this segment is very crucial to your understanding of communication and what it is and what it isn't, right? I'm going to read it. Language is our chief means of communication. Whether we try to convey a simple want such as I'm hungry, or a profound religious or philosophical or scientific idea, we have to use language. There's always a purpose to communication. We're trying to convey something to somebody else. Our ideas, our aims, our wants, our values, or our very personalities. We're trying to influence, to inform, to entertain, to inspire, to persuade, to move somebody or someone to action. It's a very interesting thing. I'm going to read it again. We are trying to convey something to somebody else. Our ideas, our aims, our wants, our values, our very personal personalities. We are trying to influence, to inform, entertain, inspire, persuade, or to move someone to action. So whenever someone is talking and he says that that person, he or she is saying that, well, I'm just using language. Yeah, just using language for the sake of using it. What the heck happened with you? There's always a means of communication. There's always a means of communication. You cannot vaguely use language. Even though that you're using language to talk to yourself, what we say in English, soliloquy, which is a monologue that you're having with yourself, you're basically using it for an action, for aim to be to share ideas, to inspire yourself, to motivate yourself, to persuade yourself to do something or not to do something, etc., etc., etc. There are a bunch of other ways and other purposes in using a language. Okay, wherever you're using that, there's a specific usage behind it, a specific intention behind that. And the author continues, we speak more often than we write because speech is fast, immediate, recordable, and almost limitless in its impact on people and the world around you. You will always need speech, even though that you're writing. Okay, sometimes I write, right? You just take my notes. I write some of the things that I'm doing. Some philosophical documents that I'm reading. I write all the time, but speech, I read this long time ago, but I just understood that you always gonna need speech. Always. You're always gonna need that. Yeah, you cannot escape it. You can't. That's the thing that we human beings create. Okay, to have a sense of ourselves, we create it, and then we want it just to feel that we belong to a place, we belong to a society, we belong to a place, we belong to a nation, where we have this sense of belonging, right? Just creating our own ego, own bubble, as they say in English, which is a human endeavor. Things that you're gonna be doing for the rest of our life, we are gonna be doing for the rest of our lives. We cannot escape that. It's a fact. Okay. In an age of electronic devices, this book was written, from the beginning of the 21st century, so it couldn't be more true than that. Where the author extrapolate around 20 years or 15 years ago about reality right now, it couldn't be more true. In an age of electronic devices that instantly transmit speech to all parts of the world, the spoken word is the main means of communication in our time. It enters all levels of our lives. See, you understand that? L'on utilise speech, ok? Donc, l'on utilise speech, c'est-à-dire utiliser un discours, l'immédiat, c'est des choses qui n'ont pas vraiment de limite. Parce que par exemple, l'on a écrit, il y a des choses à dire, il y a des choses à dire, il y a des choses à dire pour expliquer, etc. Mais une fois que vous avez une méthode dans le langage, vous va parler, vous pouvez exprimer un paquet de bagailles dans un petit laps de temps. Et soit dire lui-même, il a toujours été là, même s'il a écrit tout. Et soit dire qu'il a toujours été là. Par exemple, si on a des travaux de Aristoteles, ainsi connu sous le nom de Platon, Aristote, Socrate ou même Jacques Rousseau, que je viens de présenter. Donc c'est l'écriture. Néanmoins, in daily communication, and we use speech to convey a profound religious, scientific, or philosophical idea. We just use speech to do that. and speech is going to be prosperous in our daily lives, we will need speech in order to get by, and especially in the age of AI. I don't know if you know about AI, which is AI in French they say IA, which is in English, which is artificial intelligence. What is basically artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence is the modeling of human capacities, human brain, and human intelligence. They're trying to model it in an artificial way by using robots and other materials designed in some libraries in order to carry out tasks that were conventionally done by men. When I say men, I say human being in general. Artificial intelligence is basically the epicenter of a lot of scientific and philosophical debate in the United States and Germany, where they are creating a lot of artificial stuff. Artificial intelligence is basically epicenter of a lot of things that are happening all around the world. And in this world, where, as they say in English, that work come and work go, but I forget the saying in English. What they say job comes, jobs goes, but work stays. Which is a very deep adage, it's an adage, it's a saying, okay, that is very common in the United States now, as they train a lot of artificial intelligence in self-driving vehicles using some sensors in order to interpret reality, to interpret what's going on. They're using artificial intelligence in order to do what were conventionally done by mankind. They are using artificial intelligence in order to carry out a lot of daily tasks that were done by men. So you see, the thing is, the world is basically in this world we're basically we are creating proxies like artificial intelligence, robotics things. They are just proxies. They were created, designed, and programmed by men. Even though they're working, they're trying to put consciousness in it. Like, consciousness is a thing that makes us different from, some people say, from animals and the rest of the world, but myself I would say from objects, okay? But they say they're trying to just say that, trying to create a consciousness for these robots, which is basically the uses of speech and linguistic code in order to interpret these codes, and these robots are going to interpret them in order to behave a certain way in society. Okay, I remember in 2019, I was reading not a book, it was a journal, a newspaper from BBC, and they said that in Arizona, in the United States of America, a lady was killed by a self-driving vehicle, and they were trying to understand. They're trying to because in Arizona at that time, I don't know, Phoenix, Arizona, at that time it was the only state or the only city in the United States where self-driving vehicles were operating, and they were actually a lot of people were using them in order to some people just to try them out. I remember there was a CEO, 24 CEO at the time, was 24, was working real hard in the company just to create his own self-driving car. He created it, but he was basically trying to popularize it, okay? And a lot of people just get down to the ethical question. They say how the robot is supposed to behave, and when the robot, for example, there's a kid and there's an old person, and the robot, there's a person inside the car, if there's going to be an accident, who the robot should prioritize. Is it the kid, the person who is inside the vehicle, or the old person? Everybody has its own right to live. Now, that's a big question in the United States right now. Now, as we were talking about speech, we were talking about the usage of speech, of language in a communicative way. I think that artificial intelligence, and with this robot thing, is going to change reality, and society is going to be globalized. Like right now, I'm doing a live in Haiti, and a lot of people in the United States and Canada and New Zealand and Australia and other parts of the world can listen and watch this live with me, or just watch it after broadcasting it. So you see the power of social medias and artificial intelligence. So basically, what I'm saying, I'm sorry, something happened to my phone. Okay, what I'm saying is that it is very important to. I'm sorry, I'm trying to fix my phone right here. Okay, cool. Is it okay now? All right, good. Okay, what I'm basically saying is that it's very important to know the usage of your speech. Okay, it's very important to know that. And I want to continue reading the text when the author says that the result of effective speech is action. Whenever that you have in a speech, right? For example, I am speaking English and Haitian Creole at a time. There might be some people, if you speak both like English and Haitian Creole, it's going to be perfect for you. But if you speak only English, it's going to be perfect because I speak most of the time in English. But if you speak only Haitian Creole, that might be a little bit difficult to understand what I'm saying, because I am basically doing this in English. And it's not English just to teach you English, but it's English in a sense that using English as a mean of communication, as a linguistic code, in order to convey some ideas, in order to get you to act in a specific way. Okay, I want to get you to act in a specific way. Therefore, I use speech in a specific way. You see? There is a speaker and a listener, and the result of the speech is action. David Lloyd George said, "The finest eloquence is that which gets things done. The worst is that which delays them." That's a very interesting idea. The finest eloquence is that which gets things done, and the worst is that which delays them. You see the use of speech? Yeah, that's a very interesting usage of speech. And speech is very, what would you say, is omnipresent in our lives. As people, we need speech. Okay, we're gonna be in need of it. We're gonna be using it as we want to survive in this society. If we want to survive in a society, we have to use speech in order to survive in society, because speech is basically what we're gonna use in order to, what would you say, to convey our ideas, to talk to others. Okay, and you continue that if your purpose is to entertain, the result is laughter. If your purpose is to instruct, the result should be that the audience can act with greater knowledge in the future. You have to know your purpose in any speech. Like teaching, there's a speech. What's my purpose of my words? It's not to entertain you, guys. I'm not trying to entertain you. Okay, I'm trying to tell you, not even instruct you, I would say instruct, but not educate. Okay, because I'm trying to get you to realize what you have within. Okay, not something that you don't have. You have it, but I'm trying you to get to know it better and to familiarize yourself with it. Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the greatest German philosophers, he said, I can't remember this saying. He said in French, "Si vous voulez devenir sage, Vous devriez écouter les chiens sauvages qui aboient au fond de ta cage. Yeah. That's a very psychological truth made known by Nietzsche. Okay, and I'm going to continue. He said that a child makes known his wants to his parents, and his deeds are fulfilled. The president on one nationwide hookup tries to persuade the nation to adopt his farm policy so that he will receive legislative support. In all cases, action of some kind is a result of effective speech. If you're speaking and there's no action, it's not a speech. You were, quote unquote, to yourself. Okay? All of us learn certain basic speech skills from our parent, but there was not only a beginning. From the first day of school, our teachers have been correcting and perfecting your old communication methods. Speech skills must be learned. It's not given. It's not something that you just get naturally. It's not inherent. Okay, it's something that is you're not born with it. You have to develop it. It's a skill, like learning a language, learning to speak English. It's a skill, something that you have to pay attention to and learn to do it, and so on and so forth. Donc, intention de communication, je viens d'utiliser le langage, c'est action. Donc, une fois que vous parlez de pas grand action, c'est-à-dire vous faites un mauvais usage de langage. Pas vraiment bon intention de communication, donc les ratés. Donc, c'est pas un bagage que vous apprenez et qui fait ou fait avec de manière naturelle, de manière innée ou inhérente. Son bagage que vous développez, son compétence liée. Même si on a une compétence, par exemple, vous pouvez lire plusieurs livres, vous pouvez de manière manuelle, on peut faire tel bagage ou pas faire, etc. Son skill, son compétence liée. Son bagage vous développer. Okay? And from the first day of school, our teachers have been correcting and perfecting your old communication methods. Speech skill must be learned. It must be learned. It's not given. C'est pas donné au préalable. Cette compétence n'est pas donnée au préalable. C'est-à-dire, on doit l'apprendre à l'école. Donc, lorsque je dis à l'école, c'est pas exactement l'édifice, c'est pas un établissement d'école là. Donc, c'est toute idée de dépassement de soi. Okay? C'est-à-dire, tout édifice qu'on est là pour dépasser tout, surpasser tout de manière intellectuelle ou académique. Okay? And mastery of these skills give you powerful tools to help achieve your purposes. Very interesting. It provides you with the means to influence the action of others and the environment in which you live. Whenever you master speech, you have the power to, I'm not gonna say manipulate, because when you manipulate people, it's just a bad thing. But you can influence the action of others, especially in a good way, in a productive way. So you're gonna be using speech in order to influence the action of others. Okay? Let me continue. It is important to realize that all you know and are, your intelligence, sincerity, honesty, sense of humor, your most serious ideas are revealed in your speech. Wow, that's a good idea. Who you are, it's revealed in your speech. Type de monde il y a donc à travers l'engagement, donc ou bien ouais, monde capte de monde qui ont une idée de communication, ou de notion communicatologue, et qui ouais qui type de monde à travers soit bien. Par exemple, on pensait de Warren Buffett, one of the billionaires in the world most richest man. He said that basic people, I don't remember the word that he used, but basically is that basic people, they talk about people, medium people, they talk about events, and advanced people, they talk about ideas. Whenever somebody is talking about people, that's a basic person. Like talking about people, this guy is da 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 da. I don't like this guy. You can just do it, okay? Just for entertainment, like, you know, yeah. But you cannot spend your whole time talking about others, talking about people. That's the basic mind, okay? Albert Einstein did not spend all his time talking about people. And many young people, they talk about events. For example, what happened to Haiti. A lot of people say, oh, what happened to Haiti in 2010 was very catastrophic. We lost a lot of stuff in Haiti and the country with a lot of wobbles, and a lot of people were living in poverty and destitute situations. And it's really hard for, you know, somebody in Haiti to get back on track and trying to get his life or her life together. We're just still talking about events. We're not talking about ideas. We're not talking about meaningful and constructive ideas, right? We're not doing that. On parle des gens. On parle des gens, on parle de ce qui s'est passé dans notre pays, mais en fait, il n'y a pas d'idée scientifique, philosophique ou même spirituelle. Il n'y a pas ça. C'est catastrophique ça. Nous devrions avoir des idées sur la science, comment ça fonctionne, ou l'environnement, comment ça fonctionne, la psychologie de l'homme, comment ça fonctionne, la réalité, comment ça fonctionne. Par exemple, l'amour, qu'est-ce que c'est? Hein? L'intelligence, qu'est-ce que c'est? Hein? We just take for granted what was given to us from our society. What is love? We never ask you these questions. What is love? What is intelligence? What is human being? What is life? What is death? What is? We never ask questions. We say that's the work of philosophers, you know. It's not our problem. We're not interested in these things. That's the work of philosophers. They just can't debate that. That's not our problem. We just give up about that. Okay. We just talk about people and talk about events. Not talking about ideas. How can we improve our ideas? Because your ideas, I believe a lot of people are just gonna say that I sound a little bit idealist, but I believe that the mind has an immense power in the body. I agree with Plato, Aristotle, Nietzsche, and Spinoza. Okay, I believe that the mind has a potential that is unlimited, whereas the body is limited. Because you can see that it's obvious that the body is limited in a specific space. Like, I'm having this conversation with you right now. This is a conversation that I'm having with you. Okay, you're listening to me in your house, right? You're listening to me, and I'm basically talking, and I'm using a language to talk, right? My body, mon corps, ça se trouve quelque part. Ici, c'est mon corps. Je suis là, je parle. Ok? Je suis à Port-au-Prince. Maintenant, vous écoutez en Haïti ou quelque part d'autre. You can be listening to this video, watching this video on Facebook, and I'm gonna maybe upload it to my YouTube channel. So you might be listening to this video 2 days after its current broadcasting. And then you still have a body. The body is somewhere. Le corps est quelque part. But your mind is in Haiti, is in my room, it's basically in your mind is basically connected to my mind. It might be that it's your own mind talking to your mind. Do you see the possibility? No? No, you don't see the possibility. But it's possible. It's possible and it's plausible. Okay, c'est possible et c'est plausible. Donc, je vais prendre congé de vous. Je vais terminer là. Donc, ça a été un grand plaisir pour moi d'être ici avec vous. J'espère pouvoir continuer avec ces genres de vidéos. Je vais parler de l'usage de la communication, du langage, de la vie en général. Donc, lorsque je fais la vidéo sur Facebook, ce ne sont pas des vidéos d'apprentissage de langue étrangère. Ce sont tout simplement des vidéos dans lesquelles je parle de la vie en général. J'interprète ça avec des travaux de différents auteurs, de différentes, je dirais, écoles de pensée, de différents philosophes ou scientifiques, je ne sais pas. Donc, pour essayer de d'élucider la réalité du réel, de voir les phénomènes du domaine, de voir les représentations, les illusions de la vérité. La vie c'est ça. Si je vous dis, l'amour c'est une illusion, vous allez dire, c'est quoi ça? It's just gonna be rage. I say love is an illusion. It's just gonna be in rage. It's gonna be insidious. It's gonna sound stupid. But have you ever considered that thing? No. You just take it given. You were born. You believe that you were born. You believe that you need to be loved and you love people. You don't know what love is. I don't say love like you don't know in a sense that you're not ignorant, but you don't deeply feel the essence of that word, that powerful word called love, like called life, death, called evil, good, God, science, philosophy. Yeah, you never consider these. You just take it. You just take it for granted. People say it, and you just take it. Okay, see, that's what it is. You say philosophy. What's philosophy? Philosophy is what Socrates says it is. No, that's the perspective of Socrates on philosophy. Donc c'est la perspective de Socrate sur la philosophie. Ou du moins, qu'est-ce que c'est la littérature? Je vais utiliser les travaux de Victor Hugo, ou de Molière, ou de Voltaire. Non. It's up to you to know what it is and what it isn't. Okay? So thank you for your time. Merci de m'avoir suivi sur Facebook, sur Self-Taught POLYGLOT, sur YouTube. Donc je vais publier cette vidéo-là d'ici 2 jours ou la semaine prochaine sur le canal YouTube. Si vous voulez regarder ça à nouveau, donc vous pouvez aller sur ma chaîne YouTube, Self-Taught POLYGLOT, et je vais publier cette vidéo-là. Et je pense que j'ai une vidéo sur Self-Taught POLYGLOT que j'ai publié durant la conversation. Vous pouvez aller regarder cette vidéo-là sur Self-Taught POLYGLOT, okay? You can go to my YouTube channel, and then I have a video called what's the name of the video? The verb to be. My YouTube channel. You can go to my channel, and you're gonna find my video there, where I basically talk about the verb to be. And I start with English class. It is not for American. It is basically for Haitian people. If you want to speak English, go to my YouTube channel. You can learn English with me on my YouTube channel. Ok? Si vous avez appris anglais, nous pouvons toujours aller dans la chaîne YouTube moyen. À partir des semaines qui sont passées là, la semaine dernière, j'ai commencé avec une playlist de vidéos sur l'apprentissage de la langue anglaise. Je commence de manière très très basique. Et puis en anglais et en créole, en anglais et en créole, en anglais et en créole. Au fur et à mesure, je vais changer ce dynamisme-là. Je vais utiliser l'anglais tout simplement. Vous pouvez abonner à Self-Taught POLYGLOT sur YouTube. Merci. Ok. Merci d'être venu sur cette vidéo. À la prochaine. J'espère nous passer un très bon moment. Et puis, j'espère nous prochaine fois nous annoncer live là. Donc, monde qui est intéressé qu'à toujours et participer avec moi. Quand juste le sujet à tout ça que nous allons parler, me dire de manière préalablement, donc vous pouvez participer ensemble avec moi, vous avez des questions à poser et vous pouvez avoir quelques questions dans la live là, ok? Et merci en pile pour tout le monde qui t'a suivi moi et c'est un immense plaisir pour moi ensemble avec nous aujourd'hui. Et moi c'est Karl F. Jean, moi j'ai une chaîne YouTube qui c'est Self-Taught POLYGLOT, mais j'espère ouais non sur cette chaîne là. Merci, à la prochaine. Hello, this is Northwestern Jean for Self-Taught POLYGLOT. This podcast is designed to help you guys with language learning and language teaching. I'm a polyglot myself. I'm going to be teaching Haitian, Creole, and English and French to you guys, but also I'm going to be talking about language learning and language teaching and how do I tackle languages in general. I'm a polyglot myself, and and I'm going to be sharing all my techniques and some of the pieces of advice that I'm going to be sharing to you guys on how to tackle languages and multi-languages. So you can subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to my YouTube channel, Self-Taught Polyglot. Thank you. Thanks for listening to this brand new podcast. Thank you.